Hi. I slept for 5 hours last night, so if you can feel any crankiness coming through to the camera, I apologize. This is the new Opel Grandland. 3 years almost to the day since I drove the last generation and made a terrible video about it. And the new Grandland is really all new, from the ground up. New platform, new powertrains, new technology, new design, everything. So let's check it out. The Opel Grandland, for those of you that don't know, is Opel's flagship SUV that they've been selling in Europe since 2017. And it was one of the first products to come out of Opel's acquisition by the PSA Group, which later became part of Stellantis. When it came out back in 2017, it was called the Grandland X, and then for the 2022 facelift, they renamed it to just the Grandland. And now we have this, the second generation model, which is bigger, more advanced, it's on a brand new platform. It's available exclusively with electrified powertrains, at least in the majority of Europe, and it has a completely different aesthetic about it.
Hello! You haven't heard from VoiceOver Core in a while, have you? Yes, predictably, I've come here to fill in for the original recording because my microphones kept dying. If you read the community tab on my channel, you'll probably know this, but my microphones kept dying during filming and I just decided to completely forgo the mics and just use my phone's built-in microphone, which went about as well as you'd expect. The footage sounds like garbage, so I'm now gonna say what I actually intended to say and said in these original pieces of footage. So, the new Opel Grandland is based on the brand new Stellantis or STLA medium architecture, or STLA-M for short. And the interesting thing about this platform is that it allows for a multi-energy approach. So it can be a hybrid, it can be a plug-in hybrid, or it can have an electric powertrain. And it can all be based on the same platform, which obviously reduces costs and makes the buyer's choice bigger and allows the buyer to be more flexible. This platform also underpins the Peugeot 3008, the new Citroën C5 Aircross, and, as of recently, the new Jeep Compass as well. That's really about all there is to say about the STLA-M platform. It also allows for an electric range on the electric versions of these cars, a massive electric range, but more on that later in the video. Let's get into the Grandland's design. So in the front is the Opel visor, which I've spoken about thousands of times before, but I will say that this is the best integration that we've seen yet, because it includes the Opel badge in what I like to call a trophy case, and the Opel badge itself actually illuminates alongside the little decorative lights on the side, making the headlights a whole continuous piece of lighting. And it looks really cool, especially at night. I've included a few clips for you to see what that looks like at night. And I have to say this is my favorite integration of the Opel visor, and I'm pretty certain that we're going to see it in more models in the future. Down below, those little black bits you see, they're the brake cooling ducts. They are actually functional. I checked. They're meant to cool the brakes off and make the car a little bit more aerodynamic. On the side, the Grandland is very simple and very minimalist. Not that that's a bad thing. As I said before, I really do dig the new boxy aesthetic that the Grandland has. The previous generation car, there was nothing wrong with the way it looked. It was just a little anonymous, but this new one is a little bit more characterful and interesting, especially with this whole boxy design. While on the back you can see the new Opel light bar, which now includes the automaker's name spelled out and illuminated along with the taillights, because that's a big thing that everyone's doing in the car industry now for some reason. The taillights are the same basic shape as in other Opel vehicles, and you also get that very Astra-style vertical third brake light and a rear diffuser, quote-unquote. And overall, I think that the Grandland's design is pretty great. It definitely works with this copper paint finish. It's called Impact Copper, by the way. It looks really nice. Very much more interesting than the previous Grandland, which was, again, as I said, a little bit anonymous. This one is much more interesting and much more pleasing to look at, although I will say, if you opt for one of the other colors, I think that's kind of the wrong thing to do. And now that we're done talking about the styling, let's go ahead and move this along to the practicality. Here's the key fob. It's the same as in other Opel vehicles. It includes 3 buttons: unlock, tailgate release, and lock, and the tailgate release button makes it clear that this one doesn't have an automatic tailgate release, which frankly I would expect is standard, but okay. Anyways, my work here is done, so I'm gonna pass this on again to On the Site Core. Let's go. So then, the Grandland's cargo area. It has 550 liters of space when configured like this. I was expecting a tad bit more, but it's plenty usable because the whole car is boxy and the opening is pretty decent, as you can see. Apologize for the mess, but my equipment has to go somewhere. And anyway, it's a great illustration of
how big the cargo area actually is. I almost fell over. You have a bunch of practical features like these straps for holding down items tightly so they don't roll around everywhere. This whole thing is, I believe, a false floor. Yes, there's additional storage here where the spare tire would be. I believe that's a tow rope and something else. The dealership left that in there. There's a 12-volt outlet here. Oh, it opens the other way. There we go. Some LED lighting. This parcel shelf, which is not exactly high quality. It's held in by strings, as you can see there. And some hooks and some tethering points way over there. Have you noticed the problem yet? You can't fold the rear seats down through the cargo area. You have to get in the car and fold them down. Not exactly the sort of thing I'd expect from a C-segment SUV, primarily designed for families, but I will give it some points back because, as you can see, the rear seats split 40-20-40. And with the rear seats folded down, you get this much cargo room. Again, no automatic tailgate closing either. You just put your hand in one of these and pull it down, and it's incredibly heavy, but there you go, that's the cargo area. How about the rear seats then? This door panel is really rather nice. Some what seems to be carbon fiber, fake carbon fiber trim here. It's lovely padded stuff and a pretty nicely padded armrest. All right, let's get in. It's so clean back here, I feel bad getting in. All right, this is actually pretty good. So this front seat is in my driving position. I'm 5'11.5" or 1.8 meters tall. I bet the audio just got better because I got in the car. But legroom is generous, so no matter the height of the driver, you will probably not have any issues getting comfortable here. And headroom is pretty good as well. I will splice in a clip of the headroom right now. Hi, it's me again. See, headroom is perfectly adequate even when I'm sitting up completely straight. Very nice. Elsewhere, there's a storage pocket in the front seats, both of them, which makes me happy. There's your own climate vents here in the back. The floor, thanks to the STLA M platform being multi-energy, I think, could also be due to the fact that this car is front-wheel drive, but the floor is almost entirely flat. And because it's wide, it's actually wider than I am tall. You can sit here, and yeah, no real issues at all. This seat is in a slightly different position, but regardless, I still have lots of headroom, and I can put my feet on the tunnel there just in case I need the extra room. And you can get a lovely view of the Grandland's heavily revised interior. Don't worry about that clutter, it'll disappear in the next shot. One important thing I need to mention, words, for the family-centric buyer is that the ISOFIX anchor points for child seats are hidden behind these zippers here. So it all looks very nice. And the seat trim is pretty fantastic too. It's high quality and pretty comfy. Let's finally move it along to the front. Obviously, the Grandland comes standard with keyless entry. There's a little ridge here on the door handle. You push that to lock the doors, and then you grab on the handle to unlock the doors. I'm not demonstrating it because I disabled the feature, because it also activates automatic locking when moving away and unlocking when you approach the car, and it will constantly beep and interrupt and unfold and fold in the mirrors. And it was just a complete nuisance, so I disabled it. Anyway, turns out I was wrong. Now the alarm's bam, interior. These are the standard for the GS model, because this is the GS model. It's one step up the base business or elegance, one of the two. These are the standard fit seats. They are not AGR certified like usually they are on Opel models, some of them, but they are pretty comfortable. They look pretty nice. They have some leather inserts here, but most of this is all this nice cloth material with partial electric adjustment. So the height adjustment is manual. The recline, which uses a wheel, which annoys me to no end, that's a manual. The thigh support here is power operated, and so is the lumbar. And of course, the sliding is manual as well. And more of that cloth trim. I believe there's a crap ton of recycled materials in this interior. I'm not exactly sure of the percentage amount, but there's plenty of them. More of that soft cloth here with some stitching, and here, and a nicely padded armrest. So now it's time to get in and start up the Grandland. And here we are inside the Grandland. No starter motor because this is a hybrid. The engine kicks on automatically. Can we rev it while the engine's running? Well, Kind of. We just revved up the electric motor. I'll explain why later. First thing that greets you in the new Grandland, aside from the surprisingly small driver's information display, is this brand new 3-spoke steering wheel. It's kind of an evolution of the steering wheel in the Astra. It still integrates the visor right here, and it still has that lovely spoke, except it's not at an angle anymore, it's more flat on the top. That sentence made no sense, but you know what I mean. The leather is actually incredibly soft. It's perforated right here. The top rim of the steering wheel, the top part of the rim, is actually really thin. It's a bit of an odd feeling. There's some more contours here and some white stitching. On this side you have cruise controls, on this side you have media controls and phone calls and what have you. You have paddle shifters on the back, we'll get to that in a moment. And in the middle we have the horn, which I was genuinely surprised to find out sounds like this. This being the Grandland Hybrid, it's only available with a single transmission. By the way, I should mention that the Grandland is officially done with the manual transmission. It's now automatic only. This being the self-charging hybrid Grandland, we get a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic controlled through this Stellantis-sourced shifter. But basically every model uses this shifter now, so I won't bother you with it too much. Now the car's going to start beeping, I apologize. We're now in drive. Yeah. There's neutral just halfway up, obviously all the way down for drive, halfway up or halfway down for neutral, and all the way up for reverse. Brings up your super high-res 360-degree cameras. They're actually really impressive. Well done for that. Park is a button, and then M is for manual shifting through the paddles behind the steering wheel. You can also obviously pull one of the paddles to initiate manual shifting. The biggest news, well, one of the biggest news about the interior of the Grandland is this massive 16-inch screen in the middle. A very interesting format. Usually the screens are equal sized all the way around, or they're more rectangular, but this one is like an ultra-wide monitor. It's very wide, but it's not all particularly tall, as you can see there. It's running the latest version of the Stellantis infotainment system. We've seen this a million times before. It's similar to the previous one, but it does have some new features, some nicer graphics, and a slightly more responsive screen. It's also the same infotainment system that is in this car's cousin, the Peugeot 3008, but this car has something that the 3008 doesn't have, which is physical AC controls. Just wanted to show you these shortcut buttons. These are for car settings. That one's for car settings, that one's home, and that one's climate. There's your volume up and down and power button. Max and minimum AC, automatic mode, recirculating air. This is temperature for the driver's side. This is the fan speed, obviously. The temperature for the passenger side, the front defrost, the rear defrost, and the heated windshield. How nice. Moving further down, we have this climate vent pulled straight from the Astra. So is this power locks button and the hazards. Here we have a opening and closing storage area with that lovely cloth. It's like a modern couch. It's a very nice feeling material. You also might have noticed, by the way, before I forget, that there's basically no piano black or chrome anywhere. The only piano black that I can see is here on the passenger side of the dash, and obviously here on the infotainment system, and these stalks and the paddle shifters. Everything else is pretty matte finish, and it doesn't get smudgy or gross quite so easily, which I very much appreciate. Anyway, the storage area opens up to reveal a wireless charger for your phone and 2 USB ports for screen mirroring and charging. That USB port for screen mirroring, from my experience, is a necessity because, like every Stellantis vehicle, this car has issues connecting to Apple CarPlay. Not going to say much more than that, but please, guys, fix this. And on the topic of bugs, we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, this is cool. This is a clear, well, almost clear, see-through piece of trim autofocus. What is wrong with you today? This does get a little bit dusty, but it's cool. It can show you, you can see right through it, obviously, but also it's tied to the interior ambient lighting. You can't see it right now because it's the day, but I will splice in a clip to show you. Here's the shifter that you saw, the drive mode selector, which is out of basically every Stellantis vehicle. So is this parking brake. And this is undoubtedly my favorite feature in the interior. You can slide these little brackets to give yourself different cup holder sizes. So you can have 2 small ones and 1 large one. You can have 2 massive ones like this, or you can have 3 equally sized cup holders. This is genius. Why has nobody else replicated this? It's awesome. So then, the infotainment system. It's good, it's responsive, it's nice to use, but it's buggy. I encountered quite a few bugs, actually not just with the infotainment system, but with all of this technology in here. There are some things that need a little bit more fine-tuning. The new Grandland is obviously compatible with over-the-air software updates, so this should be an easy fix, but just in case anyone from Opel or Vauxhall Corporate is watching, just some things that I discovered. For example, far too often when I have my phone connected via Apple CarPlay and I go to change the configuration on the screen using the button at the end of the stock, it boots me out of Apple CarPlay and sends me to the home screen. Apple CarPlay still works, it continues streaming music or whatever, but it just kicks me out of the screen and I have to go back in for no discernible reason. And also it gets rid of the configuration that I had chosen on the screen, because there's an option for a screen that shows nothing, just displays the speed readout and the gear that's over there in the middle, and sometimes it changes to that without me asking for it, which is bizarre. Another bug that I encountered during my time with this car is that speed readout that you see there. My phone has absolutely no idea what to focus on right now. The speed readout. Like with a lot of Stellantis hybrid vehicles, when the electric motor is running, the speed readout over there changes from white to blue. But sometimes it just doesn't. Even though the engine is loud enough that it can be clearly heard inside the car, even with the windows closed, the speed readout remains white, and it's a little bit confusing, but most of the time it does work perfectly fine. Now that I'm done talking about the bugs, if somebody from Stellantis Corporate is watching, get to work on that over-the-air software update. So this is the driver information screen. It puts me in mind a lot of the MEB platform electric cars from Volkswagen. Not that that's a bad thing, obviously. It's unusually small. I have no idea what size it is. I'll put the size on the screen for you so you can see. And as you can see right now, it's showing what the hybrid system is doing at any given moment. Right now the engine's running, so nothing much is happening here, but it shows you the battery state of charge over there. On the other side, you have the speed digitally, the fuel gauge, and the odometer. This button at the end of the turn signal stalk changes which display you're currently looking at. So right now it's showing nothing really. This is your Apple CarPlay screen or your media screen. It shows you what's currently playing. Push that again and it shows you your trip data. Yes, that's the fuel economy. Very impressive. And the last screen shows you a tachometer, which is just about the last thing you need in a hybrid powered vehicle, although it is useful if, say, you're shifting gears with the paddle shifters. And if you push it again, that's about it. However, the heads-up display over there on the windshield, that heads-up display is huge and it can show you a lot more stuff. And they can operate independently of one another. So this screen can show you one item, but that one can show you something else, which is fantastic, and you can configure all that through the infotainment system, of course. I haven't been able to find a way to adjust the height of the heads-up display. So if you know of how to do that, if it's in the infotainment system, let me know. But right now, I can see it fine from my driving position, but it could represent a bit of an issue for somebody else depending on their seating position. The column stalks are brand new. They're directly off the Peugeot 3008, because these two cars are related after all. But they're brand new stalks finally after like 20 years of using those old ones that I've shown you before. They contain your signals, your lights. You pull it once to toggle to flash the high beams, and you pull it all the way to turn them on completely. This car has matrix LED headlights as well, so that also controls that functionality. Over here you have the wipers, pretty straightforward. It has the same layout as the previous wiper control, but it's a different stock. The paddle shifters you saw already. There's a blank switch here, more than likely to be used if this car had an automatic tailgate release. There's your hood release down there. And that's about it for the interior content, for the most part anyway. There's your interior lighting. There's no central dome light, which is really weird. It's only these two little reading lights, but I suppose they're strong enough. I would trust Opel's engineers with such things. Sunglasses holder, which is always makes me happy. And your big sun visor mirror with illumination. And a little clip there to mount your title or whatever, what might have you. Finally, let's finish this off with interior quality and storage. The quality is excellent. I was actually genuinely impressed how high quality and plush this interior feels. The top part of the dash is not just soft touch, it's really soft touch. It's like a leathery type of material, which is Very impressive. This is hard plastic, but it's a decorative trim piece. It looks nice. The screen is very firmly on there, as befits a German car, let's be honest. The steering wheel is very nice to hold. The seats are pretty comfy. Pretty much everything you touch and feel in your immediate line of sight is very well built, and it feels nice to the touch as well. The center console is very solidly put together, and it's all logically laid out in a very German sort of way, and it's a great place to spend time. Anyway, let's talk about storage. There's a big ass storage pocket here in the door. It can fit a large bottle easily. Not much here, which is disappointing to find out. This tray that I already showed you with a place for your phone, there's some extra storage in there for smaller items. The cup holders that I showed you, this massive center console with an adjustable shelf, and finally a pretty well-sized glove box. So overall, the Opel Grandland's interior, ladies and gentlemen, is an excellent place to spend time. Finally, the powertrain. This particular Grandland is a hybrid. In this case, that means self-charging hybrid. And under the hood is a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 from Chrysler, paired up to an electric motor, and this is of course a complete lie. It is in fact the 1.2 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder that every Stellantis product with a hybrid powertrain uses. Don't tell me you're surprised. That engine is paired up with a really small electric motor that lives inside the gearbox and a really small battery pack. The total output used to be 136 horsepower, but now there's a new way of calculating that, so now it's 145 horsepower. There's no changes to the engine, there's no software or anything changed with the electric motor. It's just a different way of calculating the total system output. And that power goes to the front wheels through a 6-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Elsewhere in the lineup is the plug-in hybrid version of the Grandland that gets a 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, a significantly larger battery pack, and it makes around 195 horsepower, and it sends power to the wheels, the front wheels again, through a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. And it has an electric-only range of about this much. At the top of the lineup sits the Grandland Electric. This is one of the benefits of the STLA Medium platform, the multi-energy approach, and there can be 3 different versions on the same platform with the same basic features. The Electric Grandland, should have taken notes on this, it has these battery pack sizes, it produces this much power, and it can travel this much on electric power. Have you noticed the problem yet? That's right, there's no longer a way to get the Grandland with all-wheel drive. The previous generation model offered a plug-in hybrid version with all-wheel drive and about 300 horsepower. Not the case anymore. Every version of the Grandland is now front-wheel drive. Although this engine does claim some pretty amazing fuel economy. So what's it actually like? Let's take the Grandland out for a drive and see what's what.
So let's get into it. The driving. How is the Grandland on the road? And we're going to begin, as we usually do, with the town driving. And this is really where that was my phone. This is really where the hybrid powertrain comes into its own. As I've explained before, this is a self-charging hybrid, and what that means is, other than not having to plug the car in, it means that once you stabilize at a certain speed and a certain amount of throttle, the engine will cut off and the electric motor will kick in to do most of the work. This is of course extremely beneficial to fuel economy. With the Grandland, I averaged about 6 to 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which works out to about this many mpgs, which is pretty fantastic considering that this is a pretty big and pretty heavy vehicle. In town, there's nothing really to say in particular. It's great. The steering is very light. The hybrid powertrain, although you can hear it transition from gas to electric, it's very refined, it's very quiet, and it's a lot more maneuverable than I thought it was going to be. I mean, obviously the 360-degree cameras and all that, they definitely contribute. The turning circle actually surprised me. It has a pretty tight turning circle considering its size, and it's not that difficult to park at all. You can just guide yourself using the cameras and the parking sensors, and you won't have much of an issue at all. One thing that's fun about the town driving on the Grandland is the fact, because the electric motor lives inside the gearbox, you can actually hear it shifting and revving up and doing all sorts of fun stuff depending on which part of the powertrain is running at any given moment. And because we're not used to electric motors having a gearbox, they usually have a gear reduction drive and they just rev up. But listening to an electric motor shift and rev up and down is kind of fun, and that's definitely part of the positive experience with the Grandland, in the city. As for the highway, well, as I said, the Grandland has 145 horsepower total, and the acceleration on the highway and the speed is interesting because it's not fast. I'm not going to sit here and sell you a story that it's fast because it isn't, but the acceleration is relentless. It's slow but relentless, like an electric motor would be. So you floor it and the speed rises slowly, but it rises at a constant rate. You don't feel like it's struggling to achieve the speed that you're asking it to on the highway. It's very strange. I don't think I've encountered something like this before, but that's the way it is with the Grandland. And once you stabilize at 120 kilometers an hour on the highway, or about 75 miles an hour, it's perfectly fine. It will get the job done, and I'm told that even when the car is fully loaded with stuff and people, it still gets the job done on the highway, so you can rest your minds about that. Highway fuel economy is about the same, 6 to 6.5 liters, and while you won't be able to engage the electric motor at highway speeds, when you let off the gas, it does switch into the electric motor while you're slowing down, which is a great feature. One thing that I didn't like about the whole hybrid system... Shut up! One thing I didn't like about the hybrid system is that... As I was saying, one thing I didn't like about the hybrid system is that you cannot adjust the regen braking at all. Or at least I couldn't find the option to do that. So the regen, I suppose, adjusts a little bit when you change the drive modes, but you can't dial it in yourself. You do have it, and it's pretty effective, but I wish there was an option for more granular control of the regen braking while on the electric motor. Let's end this off with dynamic driving. And, well, the Grandland is not a sports car, and it's not trying to be, so I won't be harsh on it for not being sports car-like to drive. It is very secure. You do have manual shifting through the paddle shifters, as I said, and switching to sport mode. The steering weights up just a little bit, but not too much and not artificially so, and the throttle pedal gets a little bit more responsive. So it's secure as long as you respect its limits and remember that it's not a sports car. The Grandland will get the job done, but I wouldn't call it fun necessarily. Two more things I forgot to mention. One is the sound of the engine, which is very fun. This is my soft spot for three-cylinder engine speaking here, but it really is a lot of fun. And secondly was the road noise. So the road noise was interesting on the highway because there's basically no wind noise at all. So I had to do some digging, and apparently the Michelin E-Primacy tires that were on this car get rave reviews because of their acoustic properties. So I'm going to attribute the road noise to Macedonia's poor roads and not to the car. So overall, pretty solid experience behind the wheel of the Grandland in just about every environment. And that kind of really summarizes the entire Opel Grandland as a whole. Redundancy is cool, isn't it? The easiest way for me to summarize the new Opel Grandland is that it's leaps and bounds better than the first generation. Not that the first gen was bad, but the second one is so much better in every single way. And you can tell that Opel really paid attention to the details and what have you. And it's a much better experience, and as a result, it's a much better competitor in this highly heated segment, especially in Europe. The Opel Grandland gets a score of 8.5 out of 10. That's going to be about it for this video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow along with the community tab for updates and announcements on upcoming videos, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.